Hello, Sean Citizen here once again. My second video today, but I have something very interesting to tell you. Just seen a video on the Irish Times website, and they interviewed a nice young Mexican who came here to learn English. Learning English in Ireland seems to be the golden gateway to accessing the country legally and being allowed to work, and a lot of people are doing that, and they're arriving here and working hard and paying their way. But this guy told the reporter that he was living in a house with sharing one room with three other people in bunks, and it was a four-bedroomed house, so there was 16 beds in the house, and he was paying €700 for his bunk bed. So if my calculations are right, the landlord is grossing about €11,500 a month for the rental of the whole house between everybody living in it, which is nice money. It's nearly as good as being a politician in the Dáil. So I wondered why Leo Varadkar said now that the rent allowance, that there was an allowance being made to people who are renting. They could claim back off their taxes €1,000 a year in a reduction once they gave the information as to where they were renting, and they would be allowed €1,000 off the totality of their income. Like this guy in particular had three part-time jobs, so I don't know where he was going to claim or what, but maybe some of the jobs weren't even legal or above ground. But anyway, anybody that has a legal job now can claim back €1,000 a year off their rental payments to a landlord. So this is a charter to catch all the landlords that are making a fortune and are not on the radar. They're not on Revenue's radar. They are quietly making a fortune, probably in cash payments every year as well, or every month. So it will be difficult to catch some of them. They will probably say to the tenant, look, you're only allowed to stay here on the basis that you don't fill in any return to revenue to make this claim of €1,000 off your tax bill if you're working legitimately. And if you're not working legitimately, well and good. Nobody's suffering, or the landlord's happy, and the tenant gets to keep his home and house. And thinking about it all just made me realise, no wonder there's no either apartments or houses coming on the market to rent for long term, because either way, anybody with a couple of rooms in an apartment, or more and more rooms in a nice house, will be putting an ad in Daft or whatever, My Home, and offering this. I don't know how they advertise it, but they get all the business they want of €700 per bunk bed. And the new legislation, by the way, against Airbnb people is going to cure nothing. Okay, they may discover what a landlord is earning on Airbnb and try and tax him at 50%, but the guy will just jump ship, and he'll quietly turn his house into a hostel, a bunk bed hostel. And like this four-bedroomed owner who's earning 120,000 a year, maybe cash, for one decent-sized house, will leave the Airbnb system, and even then the tourists will have nowhere to stay except to be gouged by the hotels. So to my mind, it's a very big vicious circle here, And I don't think the government are going to win anything by interfering with the system, by putting out a squealer's payment now of €1,000 a year to try and catch the tenants who are in a job and legitimately earning money and want to say get 1,000 back from revenue. The landlords will just move into the same market, but with the tenants, they will look for tenants who are not even legit, or they will look for tenants and say to them, "Look, you can't claim that money back, or we're turfing you out." So I think no matter how much you interfere with a broken clock, you just make a big mess of it, and you don't improve it. So as I said in my last video, between the shortage of long-term accommodation, even you used to, a few years ago, you could rent a nice house for 3,000 or 4,000 euros a month if you came to Ireland as a doctor or something with your family. Today, I doubt if you will succeed in that. I'd say they're as scarce as hen's teeth. So the plot thickens and thickens, and now we may have more demonstrations and riots. And a lot of these guys in the direct provision centres have refused to leave and make space for the new arrivals because they are obviously able to stay there very cheap. I don't know if they pay any rent at all, but they're working. The ones that are there long term are allowed to work. And by the way, a useful statistic is that 60% of all the people on the social housing list I read recently are immigrants, people in direct provision centres, waiting and hoping to be housed for a number of years, like our own people. So it's not always interest. It's interesting. You don't always want what you wish for. If the government builds a massive program of social housing, will they give priority to direct provision centre people, maybe a woman who has 2 or 3 children, over one of our own people with 1 child or whatever, who's been on the list for 10 or 12 years, just to get them out of the direct provision centre and into a house so they have another empty space in the direct provision centre to start occupying them with the latest arrivals. So this may be in their mind, but no matter what, as far as I can see, no matter what they come up with, the fact is, unless they can start building 30 or 40,000 social houses a year, nothing will work. It's just a totally broken clock, and there's no cure for it. And the latest business of turfing them out on the streets is now going to have protests, but not from the local people who don't want a couple of hundred young men in a small town, in a hall or whatever, or a church. It's going to come from the guys already here. And there could be big trouble coming. Watch this space. Good luck from the loony bin and Sean Citizen. Enjoy.